Hey guys, this is Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
ML Sports Platter back with you all over the major platforms. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review where you get podcasts on your smartphone device. You can find me on Twitter at Mike L. Sports and ML Sports Platter on Instagram and Facebook, and be on the lookout for my ML Sports Take videos and 9-Minute with Mike Lindsley segments every Friday from Rosie's Corner, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. If you're in and around Central New York, grab the pizza, the wings, Fish Friday every week, and of course mac and cheese available on Thursdays and Fridays as well. Big tip of the cap, thank you to Stanley Law Offices, the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group, and our good friends over at Prestwick Golf. Let's bring him in. He is America's most beloved sports writer. He is the lead baseball writer for BallNine. You can get all their work at BallNine.com. Right now, I think, is the best baseball platform currently covering the game and certainly ripping the game and all the nonsense that has happened here over the last several months and what we probably will see crystal ball-wise coming up. You can get him on Twitter at AMBS_Kernan. That's at AMBS_Kernan. Covered baseball and sports for 4.5 decades. BallNine.com. KK, welcome back, buddy.
Good to be with you, Mike.
All right, so as we record this, they just came down with the All-Star Game uniforms that, frankly, I don't know how you feel about it, but they look like they belong in the circus.
Yeah, it's another joke. Everything's a joke in baseball. I mean, it's so transparent that everything they do is just to make money, which is fine. You know, we're in America, you make money. But it's done so shoddily. I mean, it's ridiculous. One of the great joys of the All-Star Game is seeing your team's, uniform on the field. And, or even in batting practice, everything's a marketing ploy. Everything Manfred does, he does wrong. He's the worst commissioner. Everybody talks about Goodell, but he's the worst commissioner in sports by far.
By far, yeah.
It's not even close.
Well, and Kevin, on the Goodell note, you can't take Goodell as being worse than Manfred when the sport you're commissioning doesn't lose popularity; it gains popularity. No matter what you do, hating. Goodell, okay, hate all you want, but the NFL ain't going anywhere, and it gets bigger and better and more popularity and more ratings and more games and every year. And baseball is just declining under Manfred.
Well, I said it. I was really ahead of the curve on this, Mike. I said years ago that it's going to become a niche sport, and it's there now. I don't care what you say. I just saw some recent Sunday Night Baseball ratings, and they were down some drastic number.
Horrible.
I mean, and these are down from when they were down last year, so they continue to go down.
Yeah.
And the shame of it all, and this is the ultimate problem, the shame of it all is that there's so many good people in baseball that love the game, that want to play the game right. They've been forced out. They've had their mouths shut because they can't talk anymore. It's all the new kids on the block, the nerds and the Ivy Leaguers, the elitists, and they are just ruining the game in every level, led by Manfred, who I believe, and I sincerely believe this, I never thought I would say this, but I sincerely believe it. I don't think he likes baseball.
Right.
I really believe that. And you could see why there was a little bit of a issue when he became commissioner, when certain people didn't want him. And you can see that, say what you want about Bud Selig, and he did a lot of things wrong. Bud did a lot of, the steroid thing was under his watch, strikes. But Bud, I know for a fact, I had many, many conversations with Bud Selig. He loved the game. He loved people like Henry Aaron, who was one of his closest friends. This guy doesn't know anything about the game. And the people he's got in charge, somebody made a great point the other day. One of my, because I'm getting texts and calls all the time now from because my BallNine stuff is making the rounds, because I would say, and I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm just saying this because it's the truth. I'm the only guy taking on Manfred and MLB consistently every time because I've had enough. I just can't stand the game. I can't stand what he's done to the game, and I point out all the mistakes every week. And so I have a lot of baseball people reaching out to me, and someone made a great point the other day that Manfred's top people, including I can't remember the kid's name. He's a 35-year-old because everybody's 35 now in Major League Baseball. He's the one who came up with this. Well, first there was Lunau, then Lunau got pushed out because he's a big cheater, and then so this kid took over the minor leagues, and he has. He's the one who came up with this or enacted this plan. He knows nothing about baseball. You can see he knows nothing about baseball. So this baseball person pointed out that all of his top four people in baseball never played baseball, don't know baseball, and that's what we're looking at. It's all lawyers. It's all about making the most money. And I know you asked about the shirts, but it's just another example of how, okay, let's make a few bucks on these shirts, and of course you got the All-Star Game fiasco, moving it from Atlanta. If I was Atlanta, I lived in Atlanta, I would never go to another Major League game in my life. Never. Wouldn't even touch it. This sport, to politicize that situation, it was a joke, and the fans and the people it's going to hurt, the little guy. For 40 some years, I've seen all the last 3 Atlanta ballparks. And I remember the elevator operator was one of the nicest gentlemen in the world. I used to love going to Atlanta. We talked. He always had a good thing to say. The people in Atlanta, and I'm talking about the hardworking, everyday people that worked in the ballpark, and that's why I talked to Mike when I went to games. Besides talking to players and managers and things like that, I love talking to. Elevator operator, security, this guy, that guy. You really get the flow, and they love baseball, and they know baseball so well. And for them to be, the game to be torn away from them and politicized by this commissioner is a joke. But that's just, can we just line? If we can line him up all day long. I think it's been established. He's a joke. He's a joke in every way, and it's showing in baseball. The ratings are down. But the games are down. Another no-hitter, with the Dodgers. Is there any action? No, there's no action. And I just watched the highlights. I try to watch games when I can, but I don't watch them anymore. I've been watching the College World Series, actually. And that's another thing baseball people tell me. They can't watch the game. So once you lose your core, you're done. And there's no action, and I'm watching these Dodger hitters swing, and they're still taking the same swing as if they were in batting practice. They're taking their showcase swings for the most part. Nobody going the other way, hardly. Nobody trying to pick up the bit. Where is the pride in the games? It used to be an embarrassment to get no hit. Now it's like, okay, move on. Hey, congratulate the other guy. And one other point on the no hitter, I want to say, I thought it was interesting was. Javi Baez hit a home run in the first inning, and he actually didn't hot dog it too much. And ever since his incident where he didn't run, he forgot to run, as the writers say, which is a joke. He didn't forget to run. He just, he forgot to run too. He forgot to take a lead his first time on base that night too. So he just he was obviously pouting over something, and baseball players pout better than anyone. And but by David Ross setting them straight at least. And benching him, I think he got to him. And Cubs have been playing pretty well since then. And Baez has a world of talent. Just let your talents show. Hustle a little bit, and people will love you watching the game. So I think the combination of him playing a little bit more on top of his game, Cubs pitchers who aren't blazers, by the way, except for Kimbrel. Davis is, the pitchers that locate will still win, and with the sticky stuff or without the sticky stuff. So it's been another. To sum it up, it's been another terrible week for Rob Manfred, who has 52 of them every year.
Speaking of the sticky stuff, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? Who's most to blame? Is it a big deal? What's your synopsis here of this crap?
Well, again, I go back to my experience, and I know for a long, long time, and you would see it a lot in games inadvertently. They would pan to the bullpen and say that. I remember recently, it was this year, matter of fact, I was watching a Mets game, and they pan to the bullpen, and they go, "Oh, Jurish Familia getting up, starting to stretch out." And what he was doing, he was spraying stuff on his glove, and the sunscreen stuff, and the rosin stuff, and who knows what other sticky stuff. And it's been around. It's been around. Now, the spider tack. Here's my bottom line take on this: nerds are the problem. Nerds are the problem in everything in baseball. They create every problem, and once you accept that, you can move on and look at the game in a whole different light. So the nerds, every team has nerds in the back room concocting everything you can concoct, and they also, again, they don't know the game, so they get all hung up on this spin rate thing. The writers, who most of them don't know the game either, start writing about the spin rate like it's the holy grail. And they start creating new ways to get the spin rate, and you get spider tack, which basically you can hold boulders. You can lift up boulders. That's how strong this stuff is in your hands.
Well, this stuff, did I hear right, KK, that this stuff actually is used to make to the end game? And I'm by no means a handyman, trust me. But roofing, people, you could go up there, and at the end, you could find a little thing to keep to stick a roof on a house. I mean, it's absurd.
Yeah, it's obviously a great product. It works, and that's why I always say, why do they cheat? They cheat because it works. Yeah. And so the nerds came up with this because they want to increase the spin rate. And again, spring training. You go to any spring training. Here's the scene. I want to set this for your listeners. You go out to one of the bullpens. And when they're doing a bullpen session that day, maybe with a starter or DeGrom or one of these guys, you'll have about 7 nerds there, and some of the nerds will be taking a tape measure and measuring the length of his stride. Some of the other nerds will be holding the camera or focusing the electronics and the fancy cameras and getting the data off the camera. A couple other nerds will have laptops open, putting it all together, and meanwhile the pitching coach is stuck behind all of them, and so the nerds came up with this. The pitchers, because they're dopes, they run with it, and that's what you get. That's what you get. Meanwhile, whose spin rate isn't the greatest spin rate? DeGrom. What does he do? He commands and he throws the fastball, okay. and he works all his pitches, and he just dominates. And he reads swings, all the things you used to do. So yes, it helps. So that answers your question. What do you make of it? But it's not the end all be all. And this no hitter is a perfect example of it. And once again, we get back to the E word, embarrassment. Baseball gets itself embarrassed again by allowing pitchers to be basically TSA strip searched between innings, and that's a good look for the game. If you notice, and I noticed last night watching some games, if you notice, they now go to commercial. They don't actually show the umpires, So I'm sure Manfred put the word out because he doesn't want to be embarrassed. So that's where we are.
What have you learned, if anything, the last, week or two about the AL East, leaving Baltimore, of course, out of it because who cares? But, Toronto had their series with the Yankees. Did you learn anything there? What the Red Sox situation, them playing Tampa? I saw some of your tweets about the the horrible play in that series too. Unbelievable. But then the Yankees with Sanchez, and again, they could win 10 in a row, and I couldn't care less because we know who they are, and I know how they're going to lose even if they win the division and get to the postseason. I know how they're going to lose, so I'm not even going to get any excitement going for that. But have you learned those 4 clubs in the state of the AL East? Has anything changed?
Yeah, I think something has changed. I think the sticky substance thing, I think will actually help the Yankees. I think it's a big benefit to the Yankees for a couple reasons. For one reason, Garrett Cole is a classic overthinker when it comes to pitching. He's got to analyze every little thing instead of just going out there and throwing his fastball by somebody. So this will cut down his analyzation. It will cut down the high school pitching coach over-analyzation for the Yankees. And some of the pitchers will wake up a little bit and get back to pitching and seeing that they can beat a guy with a fastball. To me, the fastball is the secret ingredient in baseball. Hitters can't hit the fastball anymore. because they're into that launch angle swing for the most part. Now, I will say this: I've seen a lot of good hitters. They don't pay attention to the launch angle thing. They still they may take a big swing here and there, but they still swing more on a level, and that's why you see the Vlad Guerreros do what he's doing. He's just a good hitter. He's a good hitter. Yeah. And so I do think the sticky substance is going to help the Yankees on two levels. It's certainly going to help the Yankees hitters because you don't have as many of these pitchers who weren't that good breaking off incredible breaking balls. They won't be breaking those breaking balls off to Judge and Stanton now. So there'll be more. What I'm trying to say is there'll be more mistakes from pitchers that Yankee hitters who are good at hitting mistakes can handle. Odor, every Yankee's the same guy, no matter who. They may be 6'7" or 5'11" or 5'10" like Odor, but they're all the same guy. They take the big swing, they hit it, it goes a mile. They very rarely hit the smarter guys like Judge hit it the other way because they have the short porch. And like you said, when it comes to the playoffs, will they be able to create runs? Gary Sanchez, to his credit, he must have got embarrassed. That's the only thing I can think of because he made some drastic changes. It's like I was talking to Gary Allenson, who was a longtime minor league manager, former catcher, and he told me a few weeks ago that when he faced up against Gary in the minor leagues, Gary had a short stroke, went the other way, more of an open stance. Boom! All of a sudden, what do we have now? Gary's got a shorter stroke going the other way, more of an open stance. So somebody got to Sanchez. Maybe Sanchez got to himself. So the big answer here is the Yankees are better. They're better than they were a few weeks ago. They're winning more games, but of course, they could have lost. They could have lost 2 or 3 to the Royals. They're making the same mistakes. They still run the bases poorly. They're a little bit more into it. Aaron Boone isn't such a, hey, let's go, guys. Let's go get them. You're my guys.
Yeah,
He's
back rubs and foot massages.
Oh, my God. You know
Clown.
what? You were a third-generation player. Oh. I saw a replay of a big baseball fight with the Reds from years ago, and Boone was right in the middle of it. That gets back to that Aaron, which I've been saying all along, and I tell him right to his face when he was right in front of me. Get back to being that Aaron Boone.
Yep.
Not this kissing the butt of the nerds, Aaron Boone. And so the Yankees are a little better. Toronto still doesn't have the pitching to me. They have a couple guys that are okay. Their bullpen is, I think, even though people think it's great, I think you can wear them out. And again, we're not even halfway through the season. So these pitchers are going to be in a lot worse shape come October. And of course, the biggest thing is what I've seen. It's not an American League East thing. It's an AL thing. Hey, the Astros got their game on.
Yeah, no doubt. I think so. I picked them to win the division. Who's the best team in baseball?
Right now, I have to go with the Astros.
Yeah, me too.
Even though the pitching is not the best, because their lineup is, a smart manager told me years ago he wants the lineups that can do damage from anywhere, and their lineups can do damage, and they have different guys that do things. And they're motivated. They're motivated because they got the chip on their. You always got to be motivated. That's another thing that the nerds try to take away: motivation. They want to make everything the same. There's no such thing. It's arbitrary if you're an RBI guy. No, everything's not the same. Correa's motivated. He's playing really well. Hopefully his back holds out. And Bregman's a little stronger this year, so he's playing well. And they got and again, bring in the old guy to manage the team that motivates. Dusty Baker. He's not he's not one of these the nerd kissers. He actually manages, and so they got a lot going on. They want to prove things. They want to prove teams wrong, so right now I would say it's them. The Dodgers really surprised me. They've kind of gone. I guess it happens to teams all the time. I remember Jack McKee telling me years ago when you get to the playoffs, you got to get better the next year. You got to change the personnel. They probably didn't change the personnel enough, and the Pujols thing is really, to me, I mean, it's great for Pujols and everything like that, but it's an eye opener for me. Mm-hmm. If you got to bring in a guy who's basically done, and again, the Dodgers were exciting last year because they could do different things and they ran the bases well. Now you got a clogger, clogs up the base. It's one thing to sign Pujols and maybe a pinch hitter here and there in a big spot. Okay, I can buy that, but to rely on him. So So the Dodgers have problems. The Padres have more energy. The Padres got their number, and then of course the Giants. The Giants are kind of like the team nobody expected, but to Gabe Kapler's credit, and I was the first to criticize him. He went from being all nerd to being all in, and that's a big difference. And he's actually doing a lot of good baseball things. And of course, they have baseball veterans. Longoria. What did Longoria do this year? He went to a lighter bat, shorter, lighter bat. That's what old guys do. Go to a shorter, lighter bat. Tony Gwynn used to call it his pea shooter, and he's having a good year. Posey's having a strong year. Crawford, who I love, Crawford. That was another guy that the Yankees could have, kind of went after. It didn't bother because they don't value shortstops. The Yankees, because Cashman doesn't value shortstops for some reason.
Right. They just put people in the position who shouldn't be there.
Right, and if you go all the way back to Jeter,
gosh,
Cashman didn't like Jeter.
Yeah.
There were things that he didn't like about Jeter, and Jeter and him, and then Didi saved his butt, and he gets rid of Didi. So shortstop is a valuable, and so that the NL West is a fun division, and it's kind of fun to see. I spent all those years in San Diego. If Machado gets together and understands who he is as a player, they could be dangerous too. Even though the pitching is, maybe they don't have the starting pitching, but so all those things you said, but that's going back to the Yankees. At some point, the Yankees are going to run into that team that has good pitching. And will they be able to beat them? In the past, absolutely not. And I don't think they've changed enough where they can change it.
Kevin Kernan with us. A couple more for him. KK, of course, lead baseball writer at BallNine, BallNine.com, and at AMBS_Kernan. Go give him a follow on Twitter. It's a must. We chatted about it, I think, a couple times ago, Kevin, where we're really hoping that these guys will get their day in the sun in Cooperstown. It's an odd choice. I know it's a Wednesday. You needed tickets if you were a fan. Now you don't need them. It seems like something changes every 2 days with that. But, hey, you know what? The way I look at it is after what we went through in 2020 and we have no class in 2021 and all the nonsense, and you know what? If this is what it takes to at least get those guys their day in the sun, especially, for me, for Jeter, I think, hey, why not, right? Why not?
Yeah, it changes every day, kind of like the CDC, and the things that they say. So, but yeah, again, I've been in Florida. Our governor DeSantis has had us open for, every single person screamed that the sky was going to fall, and meanwhile,
And now you're ahead of the game, and he's been the best one in the entire country
by
at running
far.
the state.
And I think I said this on your show way back.
Yep.
Because I'm not afraid to take on that situation either. I deal with common sense. If you deal with common sense, you're much better off in life. And he truly did look at the science. This guy,
mm-hmm.
and he tried to protect the people in the old age homes and things like that. And so, getting back to Jeter, yeah, you should have his day. And I don't have any problem with being in the middle of the week because the hell, half these people aren't working because the government's giving them money anyway. So what's the big deal? They can go up there and spend some of their money, and because every business in Florida here is looking, and throughout the country, I was just reading things about New Jersey. They can't find people to pick up the garbage in some of the boardwalk areas because they're offering like $25 an hour because people are just sitting home taking their other money. So so Wednesday's a great day. Let them have a blast. I probably won't be up there this year because I was sent up there by my past employee all those years. A little too steep prices for me to be up there and that like that. But I think it'll be a great day trip for people. I think it'll be great for Jeter, great for the Hall of Fame. I love the people at the Hall of Fame. I think they do a great job, and they truly love baseball. And I said all along, it's nice to have it. I think during. I always thought it would be a nice fall event to some extent.
Me too.
And so we're in a good spot in the fall. Hopefully we get a beautiful day and go for it.
Yeah, no doubt. Final thing for you. Guys, we know it's a young man's game, and we know it's a game that, is hurting, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. But as far as these young guys are concerned, Kevin, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, in that wheelhouse of youth, of age, Tatis, Acuna Jr., Vlad, they're all juniors, Tatis Jr., Vlad Jr., Acuna Jr. How do you And you can add anybody else in if you'd like as well. Where do you rank the top of this class, so to speak, this youth class, and what guy, what would you build around the next 5 to 7 years over all the rest?
Well, with Vlad losing weight, he'd be the guy, because I think I see him super motivated. I think Tatis is up there. They're all up there. I'd take any of them, and it's funny, and I think I'm glad you brought this up, because I think people miss this major point. You said they're all juniors, and they're juniors, of course, of major league players.
Yep.
Guys who played an era when you hit the ball, it wasn't all about launching.
Played baseball.
Yep. You played baseball.
Yep.
Every player you just mentioned is very good at playing baseball,
right,
for the most part. And look at Vlad at first base, how much he's improved.
Yeah.
And so these guys, because of their father's influence, are not being influenced as much by the nerds. So these guys are much more baseball players, where the other guys are nerd players. And it's a big difference. And so I think the more we get back to that, better. And I think it's a great – that's the irony. The other thing about Manfred, the irony is there's so many great things to celebrate. Another good player I want to mention, I watched him down here the other day with his debut, Wander Franco. He's I'm telling you, super impressed with this kid with the Rays. He hit a 3-run homer. That should have been the talk of the day the next day. Instead, we had all the Scherzer, Girardi stuff, right. Romo dropping his pants, because the guy in charge of baseball doesn't understand baseball. So he took the spotlight away from Franco, and he's going to be another good one. He's going to. I'll tell you what, Franco, Rosarina, and Meadows. Those three guys, you take those three over almost any Yankees three right now. Franco is going to be a handful for because he plays, what I've seen and only watching 2 or 3 games with him, he plays the game with energy, loves the game, and he's one of those players which brings everybody up. Those players are hard to come by. So for the Rays, for all their problems, and by the way, the Rays should have a much better record than they have. They consistently refuse to bunt people over late in the game. There was a game the other night where they had first and second, no outs, 8th inning, tie game. Didn't bunt the guys over. Of course, they made 3 straight outs, and they go on to lose the game in extra innings. You get blown up. That's the day where Brett Phillips forgot that there was a man on first base when he was on second base, and didn't run to third base on a ground ball to third that was booted. That should have been bases loaded, no outs. They could have won the game right then and there. But the Rays. They need to get a little less nerdy at times and just play baseball. If they would just put the ball and play more, they'd be really dominant, because they do some of the other things really well. They play defense and things like that. So it's going to be interesting. And I apologize for not talking about the Mets so much. I'm going to say this, and this may upset some people, but my book is still out on the Mets. I'm not as convinced about the Mets as other people are right now. I'm not as convinced about Lindor right now. And if they didn't have DeGrom, they would have great issues. So we'll see where the Mets go. They're lucky they're in that NL East, which stinks across the board. The Braves are a joke. So what the Braves GM did by getting rid of the bullpen guys and not building a bullpen is a travesty. They should be, they should have built off of what they did last year. They let guys like Melanson go. He's out in San Francisco. So unless the Mets peak, and I see some different things with the Mets going forward, I'm not as sold on the Mets as everyone else.
Kevin Kernan, BallNine.com, the lead baseball writer for that great platform, at @AMBS_Kernan. KK, really appreciate your time, man. Always great to chat. And, hey, enjoy the Florida sunshine, my man.
But you got it, Michael. And, let's remember, don't have too much sticky stuff.
The ML Sports Platter brought to you by our great friend Brian Conboy at Mass Mutual New York State. Tax-efficient retirement planning. Go with Brian today. On Facebook, on LinkedIn, advisors.massmutual.com. Thanks also to Welch and Company Jewelers, Sit Means Sit Syracuse, and our good friends at Stanley Law Offices. Together, they'll work to get you the maximum award. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports, Instagram and Facebook, ML Sports Platter. Be on the lookout for all of my videos across all the major platforms like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, IGTV. And also want to throw a tip of the cap thank you as well to the Swan and Whitaker families for their support of the ML Sports Platter. And hey, if you have any topics that you want me to cover or you want to ask me about anything in the world of sports, you can do so. MikeLSports1979@gmail.com. That email can also be used if you're interested in being a sponsor of the podcast. Thanks to Kevin Kernan once again from Ball 9. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.